Hello and welcome back to another edition of Penn State Sports Night. I'm Emily Treacy along with Zach Gershman and Michael de Botton, and we're here to highlight the kickoff of the Big Ten season this past weekend. There were many surprises during the first week of conference play, including Penn State going down to Indiana in overtime. Was that the biggest surprise of the week, or was there something even more shocking?
For me, my biggest shocker of the week definitely has to be Northwestern beating Maryland. Northwestern, if you recall, last year went 3-9 overall, including 1-8 in conference play. Maryland, on the other hand, also didn't do hot last year, going 2-10, including 0-9 in conference play. Both teams having new quarterbacks this year. For Northwestern, it would be Peyton Ramsey. He went 23 of 30 for 212 yards and 1 touchdown after transferring from Indiana. Tulia Tagovailoa went 14 of 25 for 94 yards and 3 interceptions after transferring from Alabama, so not a great day for him. It was the run game that really separated Northwestern in this one, leading to their dominating win. Isaiah Bowser, he is the junior. He had 23 carries for 70 yards and 1 touchdown, including 4 receptions for 21 yards and 1 score in the air. So really good day for him. Including Drake Anderson, he had another fantastic day. He would have 10 carries for 103 yards, including a 37-yard score. Hopefully, Northwestern can keep it up next week in Iowa.
I would love to say that Penn State was the biggest surprise, but Rutgers won a football game. Round of applause for them. First time in 21 games that they won a Big Ten football game. Beat the Spartans in East Lansing, beat Michigan State for the first time since 2004. You could tell it's 2020 when Rutgers is tied for top of the Big Ten Conference, I have to say. Their quarterback, Noah Vedral, 18 for 29, 169 yards, pretty solid performance. But the defense, 7 takeaways, ridiculous performance for them. That has to be the biggest surprise.
I have to agree with you guys. Perhaps Northwestern and Rutgers are better than people anticipated. Now, who do you feel were the standout stars of the weekend?
Without a doubt, Justin Fields, the Ohio State quarterback, as much as that pains me to say, he went 20 for 21. If I ever went 20 for 21 in anything, my parents would actually be proud of me. I mean, he killed it on the field this past week. 3 total touchdowns, 2 throwing, 1 on the ground for him. Great performance for him against Nebraska. They're coming to play us next week here at Beaver Stadium. The crowd obviously is not going to be there, but he does have to deal with Penn State's defense. And although the score did not show it in the Indiana game, the defense played pretty well, only giving up a little over 200 yards to Indiana's offense. I do think, though, that he's going to have a little bit more of a challenge than he did with Nebraska. You do have Jesse Luketa out for the first half due to the targeting call against Indiana, but you still have guys like Shaka Toney, like Lamont Wade. He's going to have a good game, but he's not going to have as good of a game this coming week.
I'm definitely going to have to agree. My standout star for this weekend is going to be another quarterback. This one coming from Wisconsin. That's going to be Graham Mertz. This last weekend, he lit up the scene in his first start. He had 248 yards passing and 5 touchdowns on 20 for 21, just like Justin Fields. He set 2 records for Wisconsin that stood out, which was completion percentage as well as most touchdowns in a game to tie the record with 2 others. He really looked good. I mean, his ball skills really impressed me. He was always keeping his eyes downfield. What I would have liked to have seen was him using his legs a little bit more. He showed some flashes when he was running out of the pocket after being chased out by the defense, so look for him to use his legs this upcoming week.
Justin Fields and Graham Mertz both started things on the right foot, so we'll see if they carry the momentum into future games. So looking forward to this coming week, what are your bold predictions? What are you looking out for?
So my big, bold prediction, and it's a bold one, we both have big ones, but I'm going to have to go with the battle of the Great Lakes State, and I'm going to say that there is going to be an upset. Michigan, they have their quarterback, their guy, junior Joe Milton. He had a really good game this week, 15 of 22, 225 yards, and a touchdown. Their run game, though, is what really set them apart. All their running backs had a combined 261 yards and 3 touchdowns, so they looked really good. But it was Michigan State's defensive line who really helped them propel in their win. They ended up having They allowed 111 yards on the ground on 40 carries, though, so the yards per carry is certainly really low. But you have to talk about the quarterback for Michigan State. Lombardi, he went 31 of 43 for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. And speaking of interceptions, turnovers, that was the big problem of the day. Michigan State had 7 turnovers overall, so we know what Mel Tucker is going to be working on with his team this week. I mean, I gotta say, after all the things that I've said, it looks like you have this young, inexperienced Michigan team coming off of a big win going up against Michigan State. They're a little bit older. However, they're upset with the way that they played and that loss to a Rutgers team that we've talked about. It just seems like it's a perfect storm for me. I'm taking Michigan State.
I would love to see another upset, a Michigan State upset. That'd be pretty good. That'd be pretty cool to see, not going to lie. The boldest of the bold prediction I have here, which I'm not really going to talk about much, Penn State's going to win on a walk-off field goal. That's that. But I do think the one that's really a surprise to me, because I kind of hope Penn State will win this coming week, I think Indiana loses to Rutgers. Number 17 team goes down. Rutgers becomes 2-0 in the Big Ten. And the conversation for them being ranked begins. I mean, a 2-0 team in the Big Ten, normally, more times than not, is in the conversation to be in the AP Top 25. So I do think Rutgers comes away with the win against the Indiana Hoosiers, and we're going to see a potentially ranked Rutgers football team.
Well, considering how bad both teams look, those predictions are quite bold to say the least. That's all for our recap of the Big Ten's opening week. Be sure to tune in next week for more college football coverage. For Zach Gershman and Michael de Botton, I'm Emily Treacy. Thank you for joining us on Penn State Sports Night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.